Okay, what do we have on YouTube this week?
So there is a growing trend in America of implementing metal detectors and other forms of checking students like wanding and things like that when they enter schools in an effort or in a facade of trying to make schools more safe.
Facade, huh? Doesn't sound like a bad idea to me.
But what turns out is that oftentimes these sorts of measures that are implemented in schools actually are pretty racist and have a disproportionate effect on students of color.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this one. Today I'll be responding to why Think Tank thinks installing metal detectors, or any security for that matter, is racist. Fucking hell, will this be a trip.
Now, schools with a preponderance of students of color within the school building are actually more inclined to adopt strict surveillance practices, metal detectors, locked gates, security cameras, random sweeps, and school police.
So, you've just told me that these increased security measures are discriminatory towards minorities, but the students who attend schools with these increased security measures are more compliant. What's the damn problem then?
Now, there was a professor at the University of Florida Law School that wanted to sort of look into this and how this affected students of color, and if there was that correlation that I am talking about, right? Now, the study suggests that as the portion of students of color in the school increased, so did the odds that the school would rely on more intense surveillance methods, okay? So in schools where students of color accounted for more than half of the student body, the probability of the school using a mix of metal detectors, school police and security guards, locked gates, and random sweeps was 2 to 18 times greater than at schools where the non-white population was less than 20%. Okay, and this is even controlling for a host of other variables that might explain the presence of stricter student surveillance, like school crime, neighborhood crime, school disorder, like disciplinary or behavioral problems on campus, and other student demographics and school characteristics.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack in this section, and honestly, I'm no statistician. I tend to look at how things are worded. First off, the word suggests is used. This is not the same as proves, demonstrates, or shows, concrete words that hammer a fact home. When I see suggests, what that translates to in my mind is that the study is either incomplete, or whatever conclusion has been reached is the result of some sort of extrapolation. While I can surrender the point that this study considers factors beyond just the composition of the student body, something about it just seems off. 2 to 18 times greater. That's an awfully wide range of multipliers. Again, no expert in statistics, but generally speaking, the studies I've seen cite a single average value instead of a span of numbers. Also, I just noticed the title of your video is grammatically incorrect. It's not why metal detectors in schools is racist, it's why metal detectors in schools are racist. Fix your typo and fire your proofreader while you're at it.
All right, so the overwhelming majority, some 62% of the occurrences of major school violence actually happened in schools that serve primarily white students. So there's not even like a correlation of like, oh, there's more crime in this neighborhood or there's more crime at this school, so let's implement this. It's just based on the fact that these students are of color, right?
What is defined as major school violence? Is it deadly stuff like shootings and stabbings, or is it two boys getting into a scuffle? That's a very loose definition. And did you ever consider that the metal detectors, since that's the point of contention, aren't to be used on just students? Schools are a gun-free zone, which for a criminal with the right intent is a very easy target. It's not a matter of statistics, it's a safeguard. Your odds of getting into a car accident are pretty low if you're a good driver. So should we get rid of airbags and seatbelts then? You know, things that have been proven to save lives in the event of an accident?
And so that's stereotyping, and actually has really, really negative effects on the students, right?
Again, it's not stereotyping, it's all about safeguards. Installing metal detectors in schools will be like airports. 90% of the time, nothing major will happen. That's not a stat, just a figure of speech. but it will dissuade anyone who has the wrong idea.
There's really no evidence that this kind of intensive surveillance and policing creates an academic environment where students are more likely to thrive or improves the school culture and climate or creates a safer learning environment. Yet cities, states, and federal government continue to invest in these kinds of strategies, and the only results that we see is the criminalization of Black youth in their schools.
Okay, so in the long run, nothing changes. Fine. How does that decrease learning conditions on campus or criminalize Black students? If nothing happens, that doesn't mean it's inherently bad. Do these racist metal detectors only cease to function when white students walk through them?
The system doesn't see Black people?
I know. Weird, huh?
That's more than weird, Veronica. That's basically, well, racist.
The company's position is that it's actually the opposite of racist because it's not targeting Black people, it's just ignoring them.
This is what I really want to get into in this discussion, right? Is that when you are going through a metal detector on your way to school, when you are being wanded or having police search you, when you are walking into school, not only does it delay the education process, right? There's many reports of students being late to class or late to tests because they have to go through these metal detectors and slower processes and things like that. But also, when you are treated like a criminal, you know what I mean? You're not in a place where you are feeling safe. You know what I mean? You are feeling like a suspect, not a student.
Right.
Well, no, I don't know what you mean. I don't walk around my campus with things to hide, nor do I go through TSA with anything to hide. If you have nothing to hide, you won't be treated suspiciously.
And there's actually a movement, groups of students who are getting together saying that they're students, not suspects, to try to change this policy. When you read this, like, what was your sort of takeaway?
That's a heavy question. I don't know. There's so many problems in the educational system, and
oh boy, can I think of a lot of problems with the education system. The only way I'd feel treated as a suspect and not a student is if the university police acted like Stalin's secret police, dragging unwanted individuals off to the gulags in the middle of the night. You don't see this happening, now do you?
It really goes down to having fair education for people of color too, and putting finances that we put into schools that maybe are predominantly white in Black schools. And
getting a little off the subject, aren't we?
I don't know. I feel like as a whole, I think that if we focus on better education, maybe when it comes to surveillance and all that kind of stuff, maybe there will be healthier ways to make sure that our schools are safer. I don't know how to word that very well, but...
Oh, geez. Look, you can educate people as much as you want, just as you can practice as much as you want at being a safe driver. But if some fuckhead does something you can't anticipate, you'll be happy you had those security measures in place.
Right. But I mean, the point of this study is that, like, these schools are not any more dangerous.
They're not any more dangerous
than predominantly white schools, but these tools are being implemented.
Right. And so but even in general, I mean, even the education in those type of schools are not great.
Okay, I can see what they're getting at here, and I'm going to keep using the driving analogy. You can't be a safe driver if you don't know how to handle a car. All right, fair. However, and this will be a rough argument, having these metal detectors installed is like having a driver's license. If you go through the proper channels and prove you're educated enough to drive, or in this case, walk around campus without a machete in your coat, no harm done.
And I think that there needs to be improvement within everything.
I agree.
So I don't know, I immediately thought, what else could there be as far as making sure that the schools are safe? What other procedure could they use?
And this is where things get a little bit stupid.
Well, I actually think that removing these sorts of surveillance and these sorts of safety things actually could make the schools more safe, because like, you know, like any sort of thing, there is, if you have like self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Oh, getting rid of security features makes things more safe. Delete your antivirus. Go on, I dare you. Delete your antivirus and go browse some illicit websites. Let's see what fucking happens.
Right. If you are treated as a criminal, you may act like such. Do you know what I mean? And so there's that like school to prison pipeline that this is exacerbating and perpetuating.
Right.
Oh God, by that logic, anyone who goes through TSA is more likely to join ISIS.
Because this exists. So I feel like if you
what's a positive alternative to that? Like,
well,
what is
a positive. So positive takeaway from this is going to the link down below and signing this petition to remove metal detectors from Los Angeles school districts, Los Angeles Unified School Districts.
Los Angeles school districts. That actually explains a lot.
And these students are trying to get this to remove because they're aware of this school to prison pipeline. They don't feel safe in their own schools because they're being treated as suspects. They're not being treated as students.
But school to prison pipeline. Give me a fucking break. If any student commits themselves to getting a good education and stays off the streets, they won't end up in prison. It's not hard.
So I think the biggest positive takeaway here is to use the link below, go sign this petition, and start to make this change.
So do you believe that there should be, I don't know, surveillance or checkpoints at all? Like there shouldn't be, like it just shouldn't be. Okay.
Have you deleted your antivirus yet? I'm waiting.
Right, like there's no indication from the studies that have been done. There's no indication that these students are more likely to bring weapons to school or anything like that.
Crimes on
but they're
campus
just treated as such, right? And that, I mean, that has really detrimental effects.
Yeah.
I can only think of one other college student that owns a firearm, and he doesn't live anywhere near me. The concern is not the students, it is people from outside campus. Some crazy nutjob wants to sneak a gun into an auditorium. Well, guess what? He can't do it if there's metal detectors or security or cameras. Oh God, I'm sounding like a fucking broken record here.
Yeah. And we want to avoid that because that will actually make students safer in the long run.
Yeah.
Right? And
honest question, did Cenk Uygur teach you how to speak?
Will allow for a more effective and a more secure educational environment, which then has positive effects for those students' lives, for their families, for their communities, for society as a whole. So there's so many positives that just like we're simply removing this and removing, I mean, think about, like also this is like public education, right? And so if you were removing that expenditure, what could you use that on? You could use that on more books, better teacher, you know what I mean?
Right,
that's so many.
Okay, that's a good argument, but if this security investment actually keeps crazies off campus and keeps weapons off campus, I'd call that a sound investment.
And it kind of goes into the whole educational issue in general. You know what I mean? There's so many layers to it.
It's so true. Yeah. Guys, please sign this petition. It'll be in the description down below. This is so important. And also, if you've had experience with this sort of policing at your school, I want to hear how you thought it affected your learning environment in the comments down below, and we'll see you guys soon.
So, to sum up, metal detectors are racist because having them makes students feel like criminals. I can tell you as a current university student that is patently fucking untrue. I don't feel like the university police are going to whip out their 9mm handguns and pin me to the floor if I come within 60 yards of them. Next time, try going to university campus and asking students what they think. Assuming what students think or want based on a fucking incomplete study is retarded, and think tanks should know that. Sergeant Buck, over and out.